The company was covering the cost of a corporate retreat at Azure Cove, a high-end resort island tucked away in the Florida Keys. When we got our room assignments, Jen from HR flashed me a bright smile. "Ethan, you're our tech guru, one of the originals here. We saved the deluxe oceanfront suite just for you. Get some real rest." I smiled and thanked her, accepting the cold plastic key card. On the outside, I looked grateful. Inside, though, my stomach felt like it had been packed with ice. Only minutes earlier, in a quiet corner of the hotel lobby, I had seen my wife, Chloe, the director of operations and the mastermind behind this entire retreat, slide to key cards from the same sleeve and hand them to my boss, Mark Donovan. Then she had taken a single card from Mark in return, wearing a sly, calculating smile I'd never seen before. I knew exactly what I was looking at. The card in her hand was gold, the exclusive key to the resort's honeymoon suite. The rest of the company buzzed with excitement for the getaway. But I knew the truth. This retreat wasn't just a vacation, it was Judgment Day, and I'd been planning it for months. That night, the company's Slack channel was lit up with photos from the lobster bake and beach bonfire. Meanwhile, in my deluxe oceanfront suite, I was quietly assembling my DJI drone and fitting it with a long-range night vision lens. On paper, I was testing the island's nighttime network stability for a live stream of Azure Cove's stunning views. In reality, I launched a live broadcast on the company's internal network, visible to nearly 10,000 employees. At first, people joked in the chat, "Ethan Hayes, still working on vacation classic. Wow, that view is insane. Thanks for the tour, man." I maneuvered the drone silently, pointing the lens at the top floor's most lavish suite, the honeymoon suite. The balcony doors slid open, and two figures, tangled in each other's arms, stepped out into the humid night. The camera zoomed in. There was Chloe's face, a face I'd loved for 7 years. Beside her was Mark Donovan, grinning like he owned the world. "So babe, how'd I do with the arrangements?" Mark's voice came through perfectly on the drone's high-fidelity mic. "Sticking that dinosaur in a single room? I bet he's still kissing your feet for the upgrade, right?" Chloe giggled, pressing herself against him. "He's just a clueless nerd who only speaks in code. I feed him a couple of lines and he buys it completely. He actually thinks the company is rewarding him for his loyalty." The chat froze for a split second. Then the floodgates opened. "WTF, is that Director Vance and Mark Donovan?" "Ethan, what the hell is going on?" I ignored them. The real show was just beginning. Mark pulled Chloe closer, his voice smug. "When we get back, I'm putting you up for the VP spot. As for Ethan Hayes, a nearly 40-year-old coder who's past his prime and has no value left, we'll find a reason to manage him out. Then it's just you and me, babe. We'll own this company sooner or later." Chloe's smile widened. "You're so much better, Mark." With Ethan, I felt like I was going nowhere. His pathetic salary can't even buy me a decent handbag. "Look at you, you snap your fingers and make more than he does in a decade." Mark puffed up, full of arrogance. "You think I don't control the books? All those technical consulting fees and vendor service charges, where do you think that money ends up? And idiots like Ethan still slave away, building my reports and verifying specs. He has no idea every project he signs off on has my commission baked right in." The moment he finished, I switched the feed. The drone footage disappeared, replaced by a series of crystal-clear PDF documents, bank statements, falsified expense reports, all signed by Mark Donovan. I spoke, my voice calm and steady. "Hello everyone, this is Ethan Hayes from the tech department. What you're seeing now is part of the evidence I've compiled over the last 6 months using my access privileges. It details Director Mark Donovan's suspected embezzlement and misappropriation of over $30 million in company funds. The complete evidence chain, including audio recordings and emails of him colluding with vendors, fabricating contracts, and laundering money, was sent 30 minutes ago to every board member, the audit committee, and the local economic crimes division." I paused, letting the words hang. "As for the video you just saw, consider it a little after-dinner entertainment." The Slack channel exploded into chaos. I'd known this would make waves, but the sheer scale of the reaction was bigger than I'd imagined. Within 5 minutes, my phone was blowing up calls from shocked colleagues, friends, and executives demanding answers. I ignored everyone. Instead, I calmly packed away the drone, sat down, and stared out at the inky black ocean, waiting. 20 minutes later, pounding shook my hotel room door. "Ethan, open this door. Get the hell out here." Chloe's shrill voice dripped with disbelief, fury, and panic. Mark's voice followed, A pathetic roar. "Ethan, you lunatic! You framed me! I'll kill you!" Hotel security arrived quickly and restrained them in the hallway. I never opened the door. Why waste words on the already finished? Then my phone rang again. This time it was the CEO. "Ethan, it's Lynch. Tell me right now, can you confirm the evidence is real?" "Mr. Lynch," I replied evenly. "I stake my career and reputation on it. Mark once had me work on a damaged hard drive to destroy evidence. What he doesn't know is that I made a complete disk image of it. It contains even more proof, and I've already sent it along with everything else." Silence on the other end. Then a long exhale. "All right, stay in your room. The company will handle it." He didn't ask about Chloe. Smart man when faced with a $30 million crime. An affair is just a sordid side note. That night, Azure Cove police arrested Mark Donovan for suspected embezzlement. Chloe, as a person of interest, was taken in for questioning. I stood on my balcony as they were led away, watching the flashing red and blue lights below. Chloe spotted me, hair a mess, makeup streaked with tears, screaming curses I couldn't hear and didn't care to. I raised my glass of red wine, toasted her, and drank it in one swallow, a toast to our dead 7-year marriage. And to the fool I used to be. The next morning, senior management flew in. The retreat was canceled immediately, and employees were sent home on the first flights. Mark Donovan was stripped of all duties. The company pledged full cooperation with police, and they vowed to recover every stolen dollar. Chloe was fired on the spot for gross misconduct and severe damage to the company's reputation. The dust had finally settled, at least for now. So it seemed. On the flight back, the seat beside me stayed empty. My colleagues kept throwing glances my way, some laced with pity, others with awe, and a few with something close to fear. I knew that from this point on, my reputation as Ethan the Guru had shifted. I wasn't just the tech guy anymore. I was the man who had single-handedly sent his own wife and his boss straight to hell. People respected that, or feared it. I didn't care either way. When I got home, the house that had once been full of laughter felt like a hollow museum of memories. Silent, heavy, untouched. I stared at our wedding photo, Chloe beaming, pressed into my side. We were college sweethearts. After graduation, we stayed in the city to build our life together. I joined the company in tech. She started in admin. We had nothing at first, no car, no house, but we built it all together. I thought we were the perfect team. I handled the back end, the tough problems. She handled the front, the politics, the smiling and handshakes. I was the breadwinner. She was the face. I once admired her social grace, how she could thrive where office politics got messy. I saw myself as her rock, the safe harbor she could always return to, but I forgot something. No matter how warm the harbor, it can't hold a ship that's determined to sail toward distant, glittering shores, especially when, in her eyes, my harbor had grown silted and stagnant. It started about a year ago. She began to complain constantly. "Ethan, look at you. You're still just a lead architect. Mark's 2 years younger than you and already a department director. Can you stop tinkering with your stupid code all day? Learn to network, schmooze with the higher-ups. You've been wearing that same jacket for 3 years. Do you know one of Mark's suits costs more than you make in a month?" At first, I laughed it off as normal marital griping. I told her I wasn't interested in climbing the corporate ladder, that I was happy where I was. Then I noticed she was spending more and more time with Mark. It started with work reports and turned into late-night WhatsApp messages. When I asked about it, she brushed it off, said it was work, said Mark saw her potential and wanted to promote her. I believed her. I was the straightforward tech guy. My world was binary, built on logic and honesty. Then, 3 months ago, Mark came to me. He'd accidentally formatted an external hard drive full of critical project files. It was urgent, he said. For me, this was child's play. But something in my gut didn't feel right. So, before starting the recovery, I used a company workstation to make a complete disk image, a perfect copy of the drive. A professional habit. A risk management instinct I'd honed over years. When I recovered the files, my blood went cold. There were no project files, just encrypted folders, records of kickbacks from vendors, forged contracts, and compromising photos of him with other women, and in a folder titled My Sunshine, I found the one thing I never wanted to see: Chloe, intimate photos of her and Mark, hotel rooms, different cities. The timestamps spanned a year and a half. All that time, I'd been the clown in the dark, her hard work and ambition. were nothing more than her climbing into my boss's bed. In that moment, I didn't feel anger, just a bone-deep disgust and an ache so heavy it seemed to hollow me out. I said nothing. I encrypted the disk image and stored copies in several secure off-site locations. Then, like a predator, I started watching. Quietly, patiently, I used my skills to recover deleted chat logs from Chloe's phone. I read her complaints about me to Mark. I saw her flirt with him. I saw them plot their little surprise for me at the corporate retreat. Mark promised her that once I was gone, she'd get a promotion and a slice of his illicit income. Greed and ambition had rotted her to the core. So when Chloe told me with a bright smile that the retreat would be at Azure Cove and she was in charge of everything, I knew my time had come. I even volunteered to help with the itinerary, hotel bookings, logistics. She praised me for finally getting it. She had no idea that while she was planning her romantic getaway, I was building the perfect stage for their destruction. Every detail was calculated: the drone model, the lens focal length, the network bandwidth, the timing of the live stream, the order I'd present the evidence. I even knew she'd stick me in a room as far from them as possible. The deluxe oceanfront suite was just another insult. Everything went exactly as I'd planned. A total victory. And yet, standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, coffee in hand, watching the city traffic flow below, I felt no satisfaction, only a barren emptiness inside. I was thinking of calling a lawyer to start divorce proceedings when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. The voice on the other end was the last one I expected. Chloe. Her voice was hoarse, weak, but calm in a way that chilled me. Ethan, we need to talk. I laughed coldly. Talk about what? You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Sign the papers and we're done. No, she said. A faint, eerie laugh slipped out. You think you've won, Ethan? You're so naive. You can send me to hell, but I won't let you enjoy paradise. What are you talking about? I frowned. You reported Mark to the company, didn't you? So what if I did? What if, she continued, I told everyone your whistleblowing was nothing but a failed extortion attempt from the very beginning? My stomach dropped. What nonsense are you spouting? It's not nonsense. Her voice turned sharp, dripping venom. I'll tell the police, the company, the media. I'll say you found out about Mark's secrets and tried to blackmail him for $5 million. When he refused, you lost it and destroyed him and me at the retreat. I understood instantly. If she pulled that off, I'd go from wronged husband to vindictive criminal in the public eye. And if that mud stuck, it would never wash off. You have no proof. I growled. Proof? She laughed, a wild, unhinged sound. Proof can be manufactured. Remember that fight we had when I bought a $3,000 handbag? You yelled about how we needed the money, how irresponsible I was. I recorded it. All I have to do is edit it, make it sound like you were complaining the money Mark was giving you wasn't enough. You think anyone will doubt it? Cold spread through me. I remembered that fight. My mother was in the hospital. We desperately needed money for her care. Chloe had gone behind my back and charged a luxury bag to our credit card. It was the first time I'd ever truly lost my temper. I never imagined she'd record it. You venomous snake, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You forced my hand, she screamed, voice breaking into hysteria. You drew first blood, so don't blame me for fighting back. You want a clean break? Not happening. I'm going to the police right now to file a report for extortion. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. The line went dead. I stood there, gripping my phone, sweat slick on my palms. I'd calculated their greed, their arrogance. But I had never calculated the sheer depth of Chloe's shameless, vicious nature. I thought I'd crushed the snake, but even pinned under my boot, she could still twist around and sink her fangs into me. Calm down, I told myself. Ethan, you have to calm down. I paced the room, forcing my thoughts into order. Her accusation was lethal. Extortion is a felony. If it stuck, I'd be ruined not just professionally, but possibly behind bars, and her method was pure diabolical genius. Chloe had taken one of her most private, bitter arguments and twisted it into a weapon against me. The worst part, it was the kind of evidence that would be nearly impossible for outsiders to disprove. It was dangerously convincing. Paired with the messy love triangle, it would be too easy for people to believe this was nothing more than some sordid drama about love, betrayal, and a deal gone bad. Mark's embezzlement case would suddenly be overshadowed by the rumor of an alleged blackmailer me. It was a perfect scorched earth tactic. I had to admit, I'd underestimated Chloe. I thought she was just a social climber, a parasite feeding on power. I never realized that beneath it all, she was a poisonous vine, capable of strangling anything in her path. I didn't have much time. If she made that call, she would follow through. I needed to counterattack before she moved. I sat at my computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. Proof. I needed proof, something undeniable that showed I was a whistleblower, not an extortionist. My mind raced back over the last 3 months, from the moment I discovered the secret on the hard drive to the night at Azure Cove, and then it hit me sharp and sudden, like a bolt of lightning slicing through fog. I had it. One piece of evidence. That wouldn't just clear my name, but would also nail Chloe to the cross of her own lies once and for all. I immediately grabbed my phone and dialed a number. "Hey Kevin, it's Ethan Hayes." On the other end was my old college buddy, Kevin Chow, now a partner at a prestigious law firm. "Ethan, what's up? I saw your heroic deeds on the news." "Nice work, man," he teased. "This is no joke, Kev. I'm in serious trouble." I quickly told him about Chloe's phone call and her plan. When I finished, Kevin was silent for a few seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was serious. "This woman is ruthless. An edited recording, combined with your history, that's a real problem. Once she files a report, the police have to open an investigation. You'll be on the defensive. That's why I need your help," I said quietly. "Remember about a month ago when I came to you for that legal consultation?" Kevin paused, then it clicked. "You mean that memo on the procedures and legal risks of reporting corporate executive-level fraud?" "Exactly." A cold smile touched my lips. "And the anonymous whistleblower complaint I had your firm send to the company's audit committee on my behalf." Realization dawned on him. "I get it. You're going to use a formal legal process you initiated before all this happened to prove your intent was always to report wrongdoing, not extort." "Exactly. Having you file it anonymously was partly to protect myself and partly to see how the company reacted internally. But the most important reason was to create a legally binding, time-stamped, third-party piece of evidence, something that could shield me from exactly this kind of smear campaign. Back then, I imagined I might need it if Mark tried to claim I fabricated the evidence. I never thought I'd have to use it against Chloe." "Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant," Kevin said. "Ethan, with a mind like yours, it's a shame you're not a criminal investigator. Don't worry, we have the strictest archiving procedures at the firm. All the documents, memos, and transmission logs are time-stamped and notarized. This chain of evidence is ironclad. No recording she edits can touch it." "Good." The weight on my chest eased for the first time in days. "Now I need you to compile everything into a clear legal opinion and send it directly to the senior executives at my company and to the Economic Crimes Division handling the case." "No problem. Leave it to me," Kevin replied decisively. "I'd love to see how Miss Vance explains her extortion claim to the police after this." When I hung up, I exhaled slowly. "Chloe, you thought you could drag me into hell with you? You had no idea that while you were digging your trap, I was already standing on higher ground watching you fall into the pit you dug with your own hands. Things moved faster than I could have imagined." Kevin was efficient, brutally so. In less than 2 hours, a logically sound, evidence-backed legal letter landed in the inboxes of CEO Lynch and the Azure Cove police. The letter laid out 3 key points: that I, Ethan Hayes, had sought formal legal counsel about reporting internal corporate corruption more than a month before the incident, that I had formally retained a law firm to submit an anonymous whistleblower complaint to the company's audit committee, thus initiating a formal reporting process, that all these actions took place before the corporate retreat, proving my motive was to fulfill my duty to the company, not to seek revenge or extort anyone. The letter hit like a bombshell, obliterating the wall of lies Chloe was trying to build. "BYPM, Mr. Lynch called me himself." For the first time, his voice carried a note of respect and apology. "Ethan, I received a letter from your lawyer. We misjudged you. You're not just the company's tech guru, you're its conscience. On behalf of the board, I apologize for any doubt we had. You're too kind, Mr. Lynch. I was just acting in the company's best interest. Rest assured." His tone hardened. "The company will not tolerate Chloe Vance's behavior, slandering a company hero and obstructing justice. We've decided to file a lawsuit against her for defamation and for the damage she's caused to the company's reputation." A small smile tugged at my lips. "Excellent. I wouldn't even have to lift a finger. Also, Lynch continued, the board had a short meeting about you. Given your extraordinary intelligence, integrity, and unparalleled technical skills, we've decided to create a new department, Information Security and Internal Auditing. We want you to be its first director, reporting directly to the board. This department will be independent from all business units and will have the highest level of security clearance. Your mission will be to build an impenetrable firewall to protect this company from both external attacks and internal rot. It was a monumental offer, like being handed a royal scepter. In the past, it would have been my dream job. But now, my perspective had changed. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, and thank the board for the honor, I said politely. But please allow me some time to consider it. After everything, I'm feeling burned out. I'd like to take some time off first. Of course, he said quickly. Take all the time you need. The position will be here whenever you're ready. When I hung up, I glanced out the window. The storm clouds seemed to have finally parted. Meanwhile, another storm was brewing. Chloe, clutching her edited recording, strode confidently into the police station to report me for extortion. The outcome was inevitable. When the police slapped Kevin's legal letter and the mountain of irrefutable evidence on the table, she froze. All her excuses evaporated. Not only did her complaint fail, but she was immediately charged with filing a false police report, submitting fabricated evidence, and attempted malicious prosecution. She walked in as the accuser, hoping to ruin me, and walked out in handcuffs, a criminal herself, and that was just the start of her nightmare. The company's lawsuit for defamation and damage to its reputation was served to her at the detention center soon after. Each charge carried crushing legal fees and potentially massive penalties. I heard the news from Kevin while I was at home, methodically packing clothes, makeup, and photos into boxes. I felt no satisfaction, no regret, just the mechanical detachment of clearing out junk. I thought our story would end there. I was ready to walk away with nothing. She could have the condo, the car, the savings. I just wanted to be free of her forever, but I had once again underestimated the depths of greed and shamelessness. 15 days later, Chloe walked out of jail, not to divorce papers, but to a lawyer she had hired. That afternoon, I got a call from him. His tone was cold, robotic. Mr. Hayes. Hayes, my client, Miss Chloe Vance, does not consent to an uncontested divorce. She's decided to file a formal divorce petition with the court. On top of that, she's demanding an equitable distribution of our marital assets, especially the downtown condo we co-own, based on its current market value. She wants her 50% share to $1 million. I held the phone and started laughing, not the kind of laugh that comes from amusement, but the kind that's born from pure, unfiltered rage. She was at rock bottom, reputation destroyed, jobless, drowning in lawsuits. And instead of trying to clean up her own disaster, she was still fixated on my condo. This was audacity at its finest. You tell her, I said to her lawyer, my voice low and deliberate, that she's not getting $1. Not a single cent from me, Mr. Hayes, he replied smugly. Under state law, marital property is subject to division regardless of fault. The condo was purchased during your marriage. It's community property. My client is well within her rights to demand her share. If you refuse to cooperate, we'll see you in court. And then he hung up. I stared out the window. The sky, clear just moments ago, had darkened again with clouds. The worst part, he was right. The condo was bought after our wedding. I'd used my life savings for the down payment, but her name was right there on the deed next to mine. For years, the mortgage had been automatically paid from my salary. Legally, it was a textbook case of community property. Even with her as the at-fault party, a judge might show me some leniency, but the reality was she would almost certainly walk away with a huge portion of its value, millions of dollars, handed over to the woman who betrayed me. I'd be bankrolling the rest of her life. I wasn't going to let that happen. Just when I thought I'd won, thought I could finally sever the last tie to her, the law slapped me in the face. It reminded me that a moral victory didn't guarantee a legal one. The person I hated most in the world could still, with the full backing of the law, carve off a piece of my flesh. That night, I locked myself in my home office. I read article after article on divorce law, combed through case studies on asset division. The more I learned, the more my heart sank. The law protects property rights, not feelings. As long as her name was on that deed, she had a right to part of it. Was I really going to just watch her walk away with millions of my dollars, maybe even use it to support that scumbag Mark Donovan while he waited for sentencing? The thought was like a poison needle stabbing into my chest. No. I wasn't going to allow it. I slammed my fist on the desk, the sound echoing through the empty room. There had to be a way. Ethan, I told myself, you're not just some nerd who codes all day. Your brain is your greatest weapon. I forced myself into a state of cold, surgical logic. I went over every detail again: the condo, the down payment, the mortgage, the deed, and then the down payment. My eyes snapped open. I had almost forgotten a crucial detail. The down payment had been $140,000, everything I'd saved in 5 years of work. But here's the thing, that wasn't the full story. I hadn't actually had the whole amount. Chloe's family wasn't wealthy. They hadn't contributed a cent to make up the shortfall. I'd done something I'd never told anyone, not even Chloe. I opened my most heavily encrypted folder, typed in a long, complex password, and inside was a single file. A patent transfer agreement. Dated 8 years ago, just 2 weeks before Chloe and I got married. The agreement showed I had sold the rights to a personal patent I'd developed in college, an algorithm for deep data compression. The buyer was a small, unknown tech startup. The price? $120,000. That $120,000, combined with the $20,000 I already had saved, made the exact $140,000 needed for the down payment, and that patent. I had created and registered it entirely on my own long before I ever met Chloe. It was my premarital property. According to legal precedent, when a premarital asset is converted into another form after marriage, it often retains its separate property status. I had taken my premarital asset, the patent, and converted it into a new asset, the down payment, which meant, at its core, this condo was rooted in my separate property. Of course, that alone wouldn't save me. The mortgage had been paid with marital funds, which meant she still had a claim to its appreciation in value. Unless I could prove that our joint contributions to the mortgage were insignificant compared to the property's massive increase in value. And what if I could also show that the money I used for the mortgage was nothing compared to my other contributions to the marriage? My pulse quickened. I had a plan. I tore through every record I could find: emails, chat logs, online shopping orders, credit card statements, bank transfers. I pulled up every financial record from my 7-year marriage to Chloe. I was going to create a ledger so clear that any judge, any human being could see the truth. For 2 straight days and nights, I worked without sleep, just caffeine and nicotine keeping me going. In the end, I had a 100+ page document: the Family Financial Contribution and Asset Origin Report, Part 1, Property Origin Evidence. I printed the 8-year-old patent transfer agreement, the patent certificate, and the bank statement showing the $120,000 deposit. I mapped out exactly how the money entered my account before the marriage and was wired to the property developer the day after our wedding. With legal citations and flowcharts, I proved beyond doubt that the condo's purchasing power came from my premarital property, part to marital mortgage contributions vs. family expenditures. I built a massive spreadsheet. On the left, my salary for all 7 years, every paycheck accounted for. Next, the monthly mortgage payments. And next to that, an even bigger column: household expenses, every designer dress Chloe bought, every luxury handbag, every 5-star meal, every international vacation. I dug them all out, line by line, from credit card statements, Venmo, and Zelle records. I even included years of financial support she sent to her family, the monthly allowance to her parents, the down payment on her brother's car and condo. I highlighted every transfer. The result was staggering. For 7 years, my entire salary after paying the mortgage was almost completely consumed by her and her family's spending, and Chloe's salary. I pulled her bank statements too. Almost no major expenses. She'd been saving or investing almost everything she earned, while I funded her lifestyle, her vanity, and her family. She treated her own income like a private nest egg while burning through mine. The money we used for the mortgage was nothing compared to what she had drained from me. If not for her spending, we could have paid off the mortgage years ago, maybe even bought another property. Part 3, Assessment of Lost Personal Value, my masterstroke. I called friends at top executive search firms and had them prepare a personal market value assessment based on my RSUM, technical achievements, and reputation. The report made it clear if I hadn't turned down lucrative offers from phone companies and hot startups to prioritize our marriage and support her career, my income would have been 3 to 5 times higher. I attached the emails with those offers. I had sacrificed immense personal and financial growth for this family, and she had used my sacrifice as the very capital for her betrayal. When I assembled these 3 parts into one ironclad dossier, I just sat there staring at the screen, and then I laughed until tears streamed down my face. Chloe, you want to go to court? You want my condo? Fine, I'll give you that chance. I want to see the look on your face in that courtroom when you see this ledger, when I peel back that pretty, painted mask, layer by layer, for the whole world to see, and you still have the audacity to say equal division of assets. This wasn't just a divorce hearing. This was my final battlefield, and I wasn't going to just win legally. I was aiming for complete and total moral annihilation. I wanted to show everyone how selfish, greedy, and venomous this woman truly was. I wanted her to pay the heaviest possible price for her betrayal. The courtroom was solemn and silent. I sat at the plaintiff's table, my face a blank mask. Across from me at the defendant's table sat Chloe. She'd lost weight, looked haggard, but was still wrapped in a tailored designer suit with meticulously applied makeup, a desperate attempt to hold on to some shred of dignity. Beside her was her smug-looking lawyer. The proceedings began. As expected, her lawyer went on the offensive, hammering away at the claim that the condo was purchased during the marriage and should be split equally. Chloe played her part well, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, acting the role of a wronged woman, telling the judge and jury about her years of contribution to the family. I watched her performance with cold detachment, saying nothing. Then it was my lawyer's turn, Kevin Shaw. Kevin didn't waste time on theatrics. He simply submitted the 100-page family financial contribution and asset origin report to the judge and the opposing counsel. Your Honor, Kevin began, my client does not wish to dwell on emotional matters. We will speak only to the facts and the evidence. The moment that thick binder landed in front of Chloe and her lawyer, I saw the color drain from their faces. Her lawyer tried to bluster his way into a rebuttal, but as he flipped through the pages, seeing the patent contract, the clear financial trail, the endless damning list of her expenditures, beads of sweat began forming on his forehead. His page turning slowed to a crawl. As for Chloe, she held her composure at first, until she saw the bank records, years of her funneling my money to her family. Her hands began to shake. Then she reached the copies of the multi-million-dollar job offers I had turned down for the sake of our family. That was it. The last bit of color vanished from her face. She stared at me, eyes wide with shock and terror. She had probably never imagined that the quiet, nerdy, unassuming man she'd married had kept a 7-year ledger so precise, so detailed, and so utterly lethal. Kevin's voice rang clear through the courtroom. Your Honor, the evidence is unequivocal. First, the down payment for the property in question came entirely from my client's separate premarital assets. The purchase was, in essence, a conversion of a premarital asset. Second, during the marriage, the defendant, Miss Vance, not only failed to contribute to the family's savings but actively and excessively drained my client's income through personal spending and substantial subsidies to her own family. Her personal consumption and family support far exceeded the total value of the mortgage payments. Her actions did not build community property, they severely damaged its accumulation. Third, and most importantly, my client sacrificed enormous personal career opportunities to maintain the stability of the family. This sacrifice in itself is a massive contribution that cannot be quantified in dollars alone. The defendant took this sacrifice for granted while engaging in an extramarital affair, a gross violation of the marital contract that has caused my client immense emotional distress. Therefore, we petition the court to recognize the condo as the sole and separate property of the plaintiff, Ethan Hayes. The defendant, Chloe Vance, has no right to its division. Furthermore, we reserve the right to file a separate lawsuit against Ms. Vance for the malicious transfer and dissipation of community property during the marriage and to demand full restitution. Every word from Kevin landed like a hammer blow, striking Chloe straight in the heart. No, that's not true, Chloe finally snapped, her voice rising into a shrill scream. You're lying, Ethan. You're slandering me. We were married. Your money was my money. What's wrong with a wife spending her husband's money? The judge banged the gavel. The defendant will control herself. Order in the court. Chloe's lawyer, face pale, tugged urgently at her sleeve, trying to silence her. He knew it was over. Faced with such an ironclad chain of evidence, any argument was futile. Close. Outburst only confirmed her guilt. The final judgment came as no surprise. The court accepted the vast majority of our evidence and arguments. It ruled that since the primary contribution to the property came from my premarital assets and given Chloe's gross misconduct and her reckless spending of marital funds, the condo would be awarded to me as my sole and separate property. All I had to do was pay her half of the principal we'd paid on the mortgage during the marriage, plus a small portion of its appreciation. The total came to less than $40,000 for 40 grand. I had bought my way out of 7 years of hell and saved my multi-million-dollar condo. It was a complete, crushing, knockout victory. When the judge read the verdict, I saw Chloe collapse into her chair, her face ashen. She had lost completely and utterly. No job, drowning in lawsuits. And now her last hope, the property she thought would secure her future, was gone. She had schemed, betrayed, and destroyed everything. All for nothing. Walking out of the courthouse, the sunlight felt almost blinding. I took a deep, clean breath, feeling like a massive weight had finally been lifted from my shoulders. Kevin clapped me on the back. "Congratulations, Ethan. You fought one hell of a comeback story." I smiled. "Thanks, my friend." A short distance away, Chloe emerged with her lawyer. She looked lost and broken. When her eyes met mine, there was no hatred, no defiance, just a hollow, dead despair. She must have finally realized how monumentally stupid she had been, throwing away a man who truly cared for her, a man who had the ability to give her everything, to chase a mirage. And now that illusion had shattered, leaving her with nothing. We passed each other without a word, like two parallel lines that would never meet again. A few days later, Mark Donovan was found guilty of multiple counts of embezzlement. He got 12 years in federal prison and was ordered to forfeit all his illegal gains. As for Chloe, her role in the conspiracy was smaller, and she turned on Mark to save herself, telling the authorities everything she knew. Because of that, she received 3 years of supervised probation. She avoided prison, but the criminal record and ruined reputation meant her professional life was over. Once I tied up all the loose ends, I formally submitted my resignation. Mr. Lynch tried to talk me into staying, offering me a Group VP title and stock options, but I refused. That place held too many toxic memories. I needed a fresh start. I sold the condo, took the money, and partnered with a friend from the executive search firm to start our own cybersecurity company built on the same model as the startup that had bought my patent all those years ago. My tech, their network. The match was perfect. The startup grind was tough, but my life felt fuller and more joyful than it had in years. A year later, our company developed a cutting-edge internal threat firewall system that landed us tens of millions in venture capital and pushed our valuation into 9-figure territory. One night, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of my office, looking out over the glittering city lights, my heart full. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Kevin. "You see the news? Someone snapped a pic of your ex-wife. Looks like she's working as a cashier at some supermarket." I opened the photo. There was Chloe, wearing a cheap red work vest, her face tired, her eyes glazed over as she scanned groceries for a customer. The once glamorous, designer-clad director of operations was now living the very kind of life she used to look down on just to make ends meet. It was the price she had to pay for her choices, a heavy price, to be paid over a very long time. I closed the photo without a flicker of emotion. To me, she was already a stranger. My life was filled with new goals, new partners, and a new horizon. One of my partners poked his head into the office, grinning. "Ethan, the deal with the European client is signed. The celebration dinner is ready. We're just waiting for you." I smiled and nodded. On my way, straightening my suit jacket, I walked out with purpose. Outside, the night sky was full of stars. And over my life, I knew the sky was finally clear.